This video is going to show you how to make some muffins. Now, in terms of fat content, muffins are actually better for you than normal cupcakes because they use less fat when you consider that to the quantity of flour that they're using. In my bowl, I've put my sugar and my margarine, but I've also got ready my milk. I've weighed up my flour and I've got my egg ready, and for these ones I'm going to use some frozen blueberries. So the first thing we need to do is mix together, cream together the margarine and the sugar. Now you could just keep stirring it round in the bowl, but that's not going to do a lot. We actually need to, what I call squish the margarine into the sides of the bowl, mixing the sugar in with it as you do that. So it's not just actually mixing it, okay, it is known as creaming it. So we're getting the two ingredients to mix together, but as I said, we're not just mixing it round in the bowl because that will just keep turning it round. We need to, as I said, get them to cream together. Now that's a whole lot easier if your margarine is already at room temperature. So depending when your lesson is, it may be an idea not to put your margarine into the fridge. Obviously, if your lesson's last thing in the day, it would need to go into the fridge. But it does work a lot easier when our margarine is at room temperature. So if you're doing this at home, you could just leave your margarine out or put it in the bowl and leave it out for 10 minutes before you start mixing it. Then we're going to add the egg. Now, if you're not confident putting your egg straight into the bowl, you can do it into a smaller bowl first. But we're just going to crack the egg in and mix that around. Now, this mixture will start to look pretty awful before it looks like we're expecting it to look, and that's because we're actually adding the wetter ingredients first. So put the egg in, mix that around. It looks pretty much like as if we're just in the process of scrambling some egg. And then we're going to add our milk to that as well. Now this is where pupils usually start to worry and saying, "Miss, my mixture looks really awful." It could actually be that it's quite lumpy, particularly if your margarine or butter hasn't been that soft. But this is exactly what it is supposed to look like. Okay, so please don't start carrying your bowls around the room asking me to check your mixture, because this is what we're expecting it to look like at this point. Once we add the flour into this, it will start to look more like the batter that we're expecting it to look like. Another thing that it's worth noting, and something I didn't realise until only a few years ago, with muffins, they do say the lumpier the mixture, the better. So if you have got some lumps in there, again, don't worry about it. Then we're just going to add the flour in and mix that around, and then this is where it will start to become the sort of batter that you would be expecting it to look like. But as I said, if there are some lumps in there, really don't worry about it. You need to be careful not to mix too much air into it, because with the amount of liquid in here, it can actually produce a lot of steam, which makes the muffins rise a bit too much. And I have at times, I did on one occasion, try doing it with an electric whisk, and my muffins went more like Yorkshire pudding, so really not a good idea. So we've got a nice smooth batter there, but as I said, no worries if there's any lumps in there. Then I'm going to pop in my blueberries. It is nice to do these with fruit, and it doesn't have to be fresh fruit. As I said, these are being done with frozen blueberries, and they've made the mixture go a nice purpley colour as well. And then we just need to divide that up then into our cup cases. So if we were doing, as I said to you earlier, if we were doing cupcakes, I would say just put about half fill the cupcake cases. With muffins, it is a heavier mixture, so we can actually 3/4 fill the cases, because they don't rise to quite the same extent, because as I said, it is a heavier batter, so we can actually put quite a lot of the mixture into there. So as I said, not quite filling it up, but getting it pretty full. If you do like I'm doing here, just spoon it in, and you can use a second spoon then to scoop it into the case. So just keep doing that until you fill them all up. Now when you put the mixture in, obviously try and get them as evenly sized as possible, because if you've got some which are very shallow and then some which are really full, the shallow ones will burn before the fuller ones are actually cooked. So pop those in. I've actually managed to get 8 muffins out of that quantity. We have got the pans which hold the 12 muffin cases in school, so you don't need to worry about that. Then those are just going to go into the oven again for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're nice and firm. So after about 12 to 15 minutes, your muffins should have gone golden brown. If you just press on them lightly, they should be nice and firm, and none of the wet batter should come out of them. If any of the wet batter is still coming out, they need to be cooked for a bit longer. So as long as they're nice and firm, and as I said, no wet batter, and a nice golden brown colour, they are cooked.